Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wahid Lutfi. I'm going to present you today the system admin tasks, and this is going to be brought to you by MyWebUniversity free educational videos. As you can see from the time, today is 4/29/2023. It's a Saturday, and it is 2:46 p.m. currently at Pacific Standard Time, California time. So let me just show you the presentation here. On the presentation, I'm going to go to a slideshow first, and then on the presentation, what I have is Linux Red Hat Enterprise Linux version 9. It's a VM, virtual machine. And then we're going to discuss system administrator tasks. And there's a lot of system administrator tasks you will be performing as a junior SA or as intermediate level or as advanced senior level. No matter what your level is, there are activities as system administrator that you will be responsible for on a daily basis. One of those tasks that you will be doing is account management, whether it's on the local file system, local machines of having like more than one machine, or just on the enterprise level, having like managed Amazon Web Services kind of servers, or a virtual machine of VMware, or Docker containers, or maybe some other kind of server-based, whether it's Unix-based on Linux, or maybe on Unix on Solaris, you could be doing it under Zone or LDAM. Those are also virtualization technique that you will be using. But if you're looking on a local machine that I'm going to demonstrate here, the task that you're doing for these commands, user add, user del, user mode, group add, group del, group mode, all these 6 commands, whether you do it on a local machine or you do it on the virtualization level, or you can do it at the enterprise level, these commands are all going to work the same way. The only difference is that you might be working on one server, which is your workstation or desktop, or a server that you set up for development, or you could be working on thousands of servers. Excuse me. Once you understand the concept and how to do it, the idea is the same. But there are sometimes you are doing these commands on the local machine, yet there's corporation kind of automation that is using LDAP, or maybe Active Directory, or some other stuff to just make sure that the account management is done through the LDAP server or Kerberos server, some other kind of enterprise level servers. And in terms of where the home directories are saved, it might be a storage NFS, or some other file system. Whatever file system you have that is mounted on the file system, you could be doing it through SAN, or through NFS, or through UFS, or AFS, Andrew file system. All of those file management systems, they will handle the storage part for the /home directory. Excuse me for a second, I'm getting choked. Let me just pause the video for a little bit. Sorry about that. So basically, I'm going to show you my web server, and this is MyWebUniversity.com. I have already done this kind of sysadmin work on chapter 4 of my book, which the book is called The Direct Path to Linux Ubuntu. And this is chapter 4. On chapter 4, I have covered these 88 commands basically. And then these are the videos for them. You're welcome to watch video number 1, part 1 of 8. And this one is just this row, which is start from user add and finish with group check. I'm going to only cover the 6 commands here that are top and the list: user add, user del, user mod, group add, group del, and group mod, which I also pointed out here. The reason I'm showing you the web server is that I've already covered this one on Linux Ubuntu, these 8 chapters or basically chapter 4, part 1 through part 8 are all on these videos. You're welcome to enjoy them, learn them from all these ones. For each row, I have one video. So row 1 would be part 1 of 8, row 2 would be part 2 of 8, and so on until row, the last row is part 8 of 8, which is this last video right here, part 8 of 8. And then you will be learning all that. But on this one, since that one was covered on Linux Ubuntu, and I want to just show you portability of these commands and everything. Once you learn it as a system admin or doing some task on one platform, whether you did it on Mac or Solaris or BSD, they're all Unix-based kind of system, and they're based on BSD operating system. But if you did it on Linux Ubuntu or Linux CentOS or Linux Rocky version or Linux Red Hat, they're all distribution of Linux distribution. So I'm going to just show you. Ubuntu is, for example, a distribution of Ubuntu, and then Red Hat is Red Hat distribution, or Fedora. So let's just cover this one tonight with these commands, 6 commands. And I'm going to just go to the virtual machine that I have already started here. Before I show you how did I get into the virtual machine, as if I minimize all these windows, you can see that I'm running. Let me just minimize this window also and close this one. So you can see this is my Windows host operating system. This is a Windows 11. And how do I know that I'm using Windows 11? If I just click on About page here, type in About, then it says About this PC. You can see from the graphical nice interface, it says I have the 11th generation Intel Core i7, and then it has 32 gigabyte of processor, and the device name, all the information in terms of memory, and the processor's speed is 3.4 gig. All of that information is here. And then I'm using Windows 11 Pro, and this is the build version of the Windows there. I can also get that information from command line. If you are not familiar with the command lines, I have already made videos to show you system info on the command lines for that one. So I've just skipped that part because it would be repeated too many times. I just want you to watch other videos and you will learn how to do it from command lines on Windows as well. But here I'm going to go here on the virtual machine. This VirtualBox is the software that I downloaded from oracle.com or virtualbox.org website. And once you install it, then you are able to create virtual machines. The VirtualBox is the hypervisor or software that enables you to create a virtual machine. This is the entire interface. Once you install the software, it's pretty easy. You just download the VirtualBox from the virtualbox.org or oracle.com for your platform. Now you run that one, and then you will get this interface. Now for each of the VM that you create, like what I created one for Linux Ubuntu, I just click on new and then make sure the ISO image is downloaded, and then I just provide the resources, which is memory and processors and all that information with the display. How much is it? For Red Hat, for example, I did allocated 16 gigabyte of physical memory out of the 32 gig that I had on the host operating system. The guest operating system, these are all virtual machine, so they run as the guest. The reason they call it guest operating system, they come and go on memory and processor, but they're not residing into the memory forever, like the operating system of Windows is the host operating system. They could be as guest operating system. Once they get to run, like this one is in running state, you can see that you can click on show and you will get it. These other ones are power off. Even though the VMDK file or virtual disk images or files are on the Windows directory, but that's just all it is. And then when you start it, and the configuration along with the virtual disk image get loaded into memory, and then you have a running VM, running virtual machine. So if I go on this one, say show, now I'm going to have this interface for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9. And right now, because I just had not attached anything for a little bit, it just went to screensaver, so it protect me. And then now I'm going to just say, go ahead, let me just type in the password. And as you can see, the passwords are not shown. So to be secure, I'm going to just clear my screen here. And then we could start with some of those commands and explain what those commands are. First, let me exit out of this, and then I go here, clear my screen. I believe right now I can see the prompt is Wahid and localhost. And I want to just make sure that I can see this ID is Wahid, everything. But I want to just set up my prompt to a smaller PS1. If, like this one, you can see that the current prompt shell1 is pointing to /user, and slash meaning that with the U is gonna give me the user ID with whoever is logged on. And this /h gave me the host name. This @ is this @ symbol here, that whatever character you put. And then this W is going to present the directory, current directory that I'm on. And then this slash at the end is going to put this prompt. So if I just say cd to programs here, now notice the program changed. If I go to shells, and it's going to change to shells. So whichever program I do, I can always type pwd. In order to just not have too much information on the screen, I'm going to do is say export ps1 is equal. I'm going to only have the prompt as $sign there. Let me just make sure I did not put too much space here. Yeah, I did not put too much space. So clear the screen here. Now I have echo $sign ps1. PS1 is there. The same syntax also provide you the value of PS1. So here, what I could do is say, okay, I got that, and I know that myself, I'm logged on as Wahid. So if I say ID dash U, it's going to show the user ID. If I say ID dash UG, it shows the group ID, sorry, NG is going to show the, and then NU is going to show Wahid. So let me just clear the screen again here. ID itself is going to give you everything. If you want ID dash U for user ID, it's going to be showing. But once you want it by the name, you say UN, that's going to show Wahid there. Similarly, ID dash G give you the group ID number. ID, not IG, ID, and then dash N would give you the name. Okay, so let me just show you some more stuff here. What I'm going to do is say echo $sign PWD, and then PWD also give you the same output. So if I just type in echo $sign home, notice that $sign home, it says that it's /home/Wahid. So if I'm on this directory, I can go two ways to the directory, parent directory. I say cd out from the shells into programs, and then now I'm on the home directory. But at the same time, I could be on the programs and then shells. And since my echo $sign home is pointing to that, and then currently I'm here, all I have to do is type in cd. It will be just dropping me there. Again, one more time, I'm going to show you another technique that you could do. Like here, I'm on the program shells, and then my PWD is there, and then I could do cd tilde. Tilde would also drop me to as if I just say, go to the profile of the user. So there's many ways you can do go to your home directory. One is just by typing cd, press enter. Another one is tilde. And another one is like if I'm just on here, I could just say cd to $sign home. That would also drop me. And then obviously this syntax or just doing this one with braces. And the braces is nicer way that if the variable has spaces in between them, then it's gonna not have problem when you're putting it, especially if you put it within the code, like an echo command and everything. Or sometimes you just say /home/programs. So if you want to just go to that, and let's see, just clear the screen here. Programs. Okay, the slash is the Unix slash, not the Windows slash. That's a /. So you can go through that one as well. And if you just say, I want to do the same thing here with the shells, you could do that. So this is like CDing to the directory that you want. And you can also go like this, go to C++, for example. And then when you type in C++, you can see the files here, star.c++, you can see this, and then CD to $ this, and then C will also take you to that C directory. And then, so if I'm right here, and then look at this, pwd, and I could say cd./python. Now I could be on the Python. And then ls-l star.py, you can see all the files with the Python set. And if you don't want to get a long listing, you could also say ls star.py, it will be shorter names. At the same time, let's cd from here to cd to from Python. I want to go to C++. Clear screen, pwd, and then now I'm on C++. So let's start on C++. So I could do this one, and then obviously if I look at this file, env.c++, so far I haven't shown you any system administrator task. Just to let you know, I'm doing basic stuff, so to get you started with this task, and we will cover system administrator in a few seconds or a few minutes. So right here, I want to just show you one more command on env.c++, for example. That file, whatever is the content of it, let's look at the content of it, env.c++. So it is a big file that does some stuff and run the system environment and everything. So if I just, obviously if I cut it, I can do that. If I compile it, I'll do that one. But let's just do that one, since I said I'll show you the env.c++. So at this time, I am going to say, do a find command minus name, and then you can say env.c++, and then this will just show you that file, also similar to like env.c++. And then at the same time, if you say minus exec, ls minus l, and then this looping slash this, you could run that one, or just say instead of that one, you could just say plus, it will just run that command. So that is equivalent to ls minus l env.c++, the shorter form. ls minus l.c++ has to be lowercase there. So at this time, if I just want to cat that file, you saw the cat minus n with env.c++. And then if let's say I want to get head minus 5, the first 5 lines of it, you could do that one. Similarly, within your find command, you could just do that same thing with the find command and just change this one to cat minus n, and then pipe head minus 5. So the head minus 5, because of the plus did not work, let's say how we can correct it. Here you say braces first, and then here you say minus n, braces, and then head minus 5, and then braces, and then plus. That did not work either. I'm gonna try a couple of other things. Let me just see why this one doesn't work. I'll fix it like this. So if you just wanna print that output, first you have to say, well, this one prints it. But now my job is to just run the same command and then look at the pipe it to head -1. That is much faster and easier, and it works that way. And if you read like 10 of the line, that's fine. You just print that 10 lines. So that is there. We're not going to compile this code and everything because that's a different session. I'm going to jump back to the system administrator task. Now we have showed you the user ID and some of the things we could do with that user. So the first thing I could do is say that, okay, so I am logged on as Wahid, but can I just add another user? I could just say, first say which is user add. And then it says, okay, the command is Ben user add. What does a user add do, right? So you can say user add is going to say create a new user or update default user information. So I say, where is a user add? Obviously, the path that is user add is on user SBin, but also the user man pages for the user add is on the user add.8, which is system administrator level section for user add. So user add, user del, all of that one, or in the system administration section, mount command and everything. So if I say user mode, that's also section 8. User del, that's also section 8. Group add, also section 8 of the man page. Group mode, and similarly group del. So all of them are on the section 8, which is system administrator level of activity. That is why I'm saying these are system admin level tasks. But don't be afraid of using these commands, and don't be worrying about it. As long as you understand them, whether you're a senior level or junior or an intermediate level, or doing it on one workstation or 1,000 workstation, the concept and the terminology that we are using here are all the same, and it can be used on VMware platform, or you can use it on Amazon Web Services, on the cloud, or on a server that is a physical server. You use this kind of concept of what I'm showing you today on a lot of platforms. So the platform that I'm showing you here, the platform is OS-release, is Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9. You can also get the one-line commands from Red Hat-release file, or you can just get it from OS release file, which is more information. And if you're interested, you can also, instead of, since all of them start with a release, you can just put asterisk here, and then it will show both the Red Hat-release and OS-release. And anytime you use the wildcard match more than one character. So as long as it follows with the word release, you will see both of them. So if I just clear again here, I say ls -ld, you see a star-release, you can see the same two files are listed here. But notice that Red Hat release is a physical file. The system release and OS release are pointing to this Red Hat release. And Red Hat release is actually pointing to / this. So if I could type in also cat system-release. And that's going to just type in the same thing, because this is a symbolic link, and the symbolic links are showing this as L for the first of the character. So I could say file of etc system-release. This is showing that it's a symbolic link. Same thing, but if I just say OS-release, and then OS-release is also symbolic link to the other one, but same thing with the Red Hat release. This is not symbolic link. Red Hat is a physical file, so it's an ASCII text. That's how you know the difference between those files. And then at this time, we know what operating system we're going to use the commands. So again, ID-UN, I'm logged on as Wahid, and ID-GN as my group ID is also Wahid. and ID-U is going to show that I'm logged on as user ID 1001 and ID-group of 1001 also. And how that information is revealed is -I Wahid on the password file, etc shadow file, and etc group file. These informations are all stored there. So on the permissions of the shadow file, because that shadow file is only readable by root, and then you get the permission denied. So in order for you to look at the content of the shadow file, you have to be logged on as root, or you have to be run the command as sudo, and then that would show you there. So let's say I'm gonna just show you the permission of that file, sudo ls-l etc shadow. And then notice that when I type in the password, this is just going to give me a long listing of the etc shadow file, and you can see they're all protected. The first character says it's an ordinary file, regular file. The next three, it says root owns it because it is dashes, root can always just read the file, whether this is showing zeros or not. And then the group is also zeros, and then others is also zero. So nobody can read it but except root. Nobody can modify it except root. Nobody can edit it except root. But at the same time, notice if I do this one, you see password, you see group, you can see that those other files are readable by others. That's why when I did a grep on this command, it shows that user Wahid and Wahidullah, all of them are on the system. So those accounts are there. If I wanted to be specific to this group, I could just say -W, and then since I'm not gonna be interested in etc shadow, I could just do this one and just say, show me only the Wahid. If it is followed by Wahidullah, don't show me that list. So this word is W is saying that match exact word. So we are saying that match Wahid on this etc password and etc group, and it found an entry on the etc password. This is the user ID, and this is X for a pointer, a field that it says the password is on the shadow file, and the user ID 1000 when we did the ID-U shows, a group ID when we did ID-G 1000 that shows, and then /home is the default home, and /bin bash is the shell. So now if I just look at those entries, I type in ID here -U, and say you say get it that one ID-UN, I get Wahid. So this entry 1001 was this one, and then Wahid is the user ID, so I get that one. Similarly, ID-G is gonna give me this 1000, the group ID. ID-GN is gonna give me the name Wahid also. And then that's because of this group Wahid here. So if I just say grep -I Wahid on etc group, you can see that group exists Wahid here, and then it's there. Again, if I just don't want to see the Wahidullah, I could just say I want to only be specific to the word Wahid. You can match it like that. And then now the next field that is home, I could say echo $, home, and then notice this /home is going to be there. And the next field is /bin bash. I could say echo $shell, and that would say my shell, the default shell. So this is how each of these commands are parsed from the file, that etc password, and you can understand the details of it. I showed you here. And then at this time, as I don't have too much privilege with this user, if I just say user add, and then I just try say dev user 1 for development user 1, is going to just say you don't have permission denied. So then I could say well, I need to run this one either as root or as with sudo. If I'm on the sudo or files, I can run this one with user. I'm going to show you first with the user, so with sudoers. So I'm going to say sudo su dash. Notice if I just don't do this one and I say user add dev user one, this will just prompt me, and then it says, okay, since I already become root at some point previously, it read it from the memory and says, yeah, well, he already had sudo access, so I run that command with the sudo privilege and then run, and it did not prompt you say permission denied. So now let's see if we say grep minus w dev user one on etc password and etc shadow, etc group. So at this time, I do have those ones, but if I just want to add etc shadow, it says permission denied because I have to run this command also with sudo. And notice that this time on the etc shadow file, this is saying that bang bang, meaning that there's a password entry for it, but you haven't set the password yet. But if I go as root, it doesn't have to have a password. I can switch user to that one and do the password myself. And or you could just do sudo pass wd and new what is it, new dev user one. I could have done that one also. But before I do that one, let me show you with sudo su dash. I'm getting a prompt here saying that I'm root at localhost. So at this time, if I just say switch user to dev user one, notice that I'm already dev user one here. And then ID dash GN, it says dev user one. ID dash UN, it gave me the one. If I want to get the user ID number, I can get that also. ID dash G, the group ID. So how is that? The 1002 grep minus I 1002. I can also say, let's go look at the etc password, etc group, and etc shadow on all of them. Since I am this user, dev user one, I cannot open the content of the shadow file, but I can look at the other two, which are readable by everybody. So if I want to just see that one, that makes sense. At this time, you notice that my /home directory was by default was set to /home dev user when I created, and I'm dropped onto that user directory. So when I do a CD, earlier I showed you, or CD tilde, either case, I'm going to drop back to here. CD $home, I'm drop to that directory. If I do ls here, clear the screen, ls here, with -L, it's going to just show this directory is empty. But if I say ls -LA, there's some hidden files. The hidden files, in this case, since I'm on the logged on as for this user as dev user one, and then my echo $, shell is Ben bash or PS. When you do PS here, you can see that bash is the default shell, which is echo $, is pointing that as soon as I switch user to this, it's going to drop me to a bash set. If I just open another bash here, and then you say echo $, notice this is on the second bash. And then if I do this one, now I'm on the second bash with that process ID of 4607, I believe it is. It's hard to read it from far away. So if I just do exit out of here, PS, now I'm on my main bash. If I exit one more time here, now I'm back on root, because from there I switch user. So now let's say switch back to this user, say dev user one, and then I'm going to be there, clear a screen, and then say pwd ls -la. Notice that this dot bash or c. This bash or C is basically, if I just look at PS and then echo $, shell. So whatever your shell environment, the system creates a dot for heading, and then bash for your shell, then RC for run control. This file is very important file. Whenever you change from one user to another user, automatically based on your shell that you are, it will just run that heading file .bash or C to set your profile environment stuff. So if I switch user with dash root, then automatically it runs the .bash or C script from root, assuming root is also same kind of shell. If it is corn shell, then it will run the .corn shell or C, KSH or C. If it is Z shell, it will run the .zsh or C. If it is TC shell, then it will run the .tcsh or C. If it is C shell, it's going to run the .csh or C. If it's Bourne shell, it's going to run .sh or C. So for each of the shells, you could do this one. And then there's here a file called shells, I believe. Let me just say etc shells, maybe all lowercase. Yeah, all lowercase. So that shells, etc shells, it shows that what shells are being supported on your system. Clearing this system, if you do this ls minus ld etc shells, and then you do cat the content of this file here, cat etc shells, you can see that we have a Bourne shell, bash, born again shell, sh is also the same thing. Bash is also, but it is on different path. User bin versus /bin. The C shell through C shell, C shell through C shell for all of them. So if I just say which bash, you can see that it's there. Which corn shell, if it is not there, you have to install it. Let's install corn shell so we could just set up some of them with corn shell as well. And then I'm gonna just say, in order to install it, I have to be back into root here. Before I go there, I'm going to show you one thing that I missed. Let me go see the switch user dash dev user one. So here I showed you this content of the bash RC. I'm gonna do a 5 more. You can see the lines. So here, this is etc profile. And this etc profile, the PS1 and all that, the prompts are shell or set for you. Then a lot of the variable declaration and a lot of the system related stuff that gets set at the time when you do it, including the aliases or in this file. So there's a couple of files that are very important. etc profile, etc bash or C, and user tilde dot bash or C. I'm sorry, tilde, I'm already there. Since I'm already there, I don't need to put tilde in front of it. But you can do, I believe, like this. Yeah, you can just, if you want to say, go to the user. So if I'm just somewhere else, right here, sorry, clear screen. If I'm right here under /home, and then I'm doing this, I could just do this and say, tell that, go to that directory of my home directory and then find this one. If I want to see the content of that one with line number, I could do that like this. This is the command that you run to do that. Okay, so and that was for the bash or C script and etc profile and other ones. On some other video, I will explain those ones in detail. But let's come back to the user add and user del and user mode, as well as group add, group del, group mode. So at this time, we created one user, and then I'm going to clear on the screen and say, let's just check to see, for example, Wahid, grep -i, Wahid is on the etc sudo files. And since I have allowed myself to be going to sudoers, I could do as sudo. And notice that these permissions are saying that Wahid has no restriction. He can shut down the machine, he can create an account, he can do everything that root can do it. How do I know that one? I could just do the same file and look at this line is very much equal to this line, except root is changed to Wahid. In order for you to just do the same thing for dev user one, if the dev user one is there, you say vim sudo or vi sudo, it will open the vi sudo, and then copy, escape, press YY for yank, and then paste it, and just change this one to dev user one. Now you have to save this one. Now dev user one is also sudo access. So if I just exit out of here and I say switch user to dev user one, notice that I have not given a password for this user one. It's going to say this user one, the password is not there. I have to provide the password. So I'm going to try this password, and it's going to say password does not have an entry, so it's not going to work there, and authentication failure. In order for me to change it, even though it has sudo access, what I could do is say password. I cannot do it with Wahid here. I cannot say password dev user one because I'm not root. So I have to be root first. In order to do that one with Wahid, I could do switch user dash, and then now I'm going to type in this password, and now I'm root. So I can say pass wd for a user dev user one. It's going to prompt me for password. I type in the password. Don't worry about the security part of these ones, because I'm wiping out all of this after this, in the middle of this video. Once I'm done with the video, these accounts doesn't exist on my system. So it will be all clean. And then plus this is a VM that is going to be shut down. When the machine is not on the network, there's no security involved for you. I'm doing this one to teach you guys, so you can do great work at your work or at the school, or find a job as a junior, say, or senior, say, or whatever you are there. You can move up to the ladder by learning all these stuff that I have learned it maybe in 30 years of my experience with 2 degrees of computer science, a bachelor and master, and then at the same time teaching at the university levels, at the same time working at the prestige companies for 30 years. So I'm just giving you a summary of all of that one in a 1 hour video or 2 hour video. So you're welcome to learn from it and just enjoy it and practice. Sit by yourself at some kind of VM that you will build it, and watch my other videos on MyWebUniversity free education videos. I have tons of videos on this subject. So let's go to the user add. So I did the password already, change here. So now if I just say ID here and then ID dash UN, you can see I'm Wahid. So I want to switch user to dev user one. So we did the dev user one, but this time it's going to prompt me. If I have the password of dev user one, I can switch from one user to the next user, no problem. I just did. And then ID dash UN, you can see I'm logged on. ID dash GN is dev user one. ID dash U is user ID of 1002. ID dash group is 1002. And then the same thing, grep minus I, dev user one on etc password and etc shadow. You can see those entries are there. etc, let's do etc group only. And then if you want to do as for the shadow also, and then etc shadow, notice that the shadow is not going to say permission, but because I gave a sudo privilege, you can do now sudo in front of your command, and it will just prompt you for the password. And if you have the right password, it's not going to say this incident will be reported. Otherwise, it's going to give you like a warning, oh, this incident is going to be reported. To whom? This is going to be in the logs, and then some senior level admin might be looking at it, say, oh, let me give you the privilege. There's not penalty for just learning. So here, this is just basically the shadow file. It is going to be there. So what else we could do on that dev user? Notice that the user ID is there. So I'm going to say ID-UN, and then clearing the screen, ID-UN is there, and then ID-U is 1002, and ID-G is 1002. I want to do user mode. So when I do it with this user, I could say user mode, and then minus, let's just change the user ID to 1003. If the user 1003 doesn't exist yet, dev user 1 is going to say user 1 is currently used by process this. So I'm currently using it. That means I have to be not the person who is working on it. I have to be a root or something to just do it. So I'm going to exit out of this and then say, now I'm Wahid. I could say switch user. Let's become root here. You can run become root like this also. Switch user dash. Dash means change my profile to the root profile, which means I must change my home directory, run the .bash or C stuff. So I'm gonna type in the password for root. And notice that here, when I dropped in that echo $shell is telling me that I'm using bin bash. So that was why I was dropped there. And my home directory is by default is /shell. So I could also do ID and then root here. You can see that I'm there, and then get in password root also gonna show me the bin bashes, the shell, and then the home directory is root. I can also say echo $home, home, and it's gonna show that this root. And then here, if I say ls here, notice that it's gonna show a couple of files here. But if I just clear a screen here, clear a screen, ls minus la, you can see that there's a .bash or C for root also. And I showed you that there's a etc profile, a system file, etc bash or C system file, and now there's a user. In this case, it's a bash or C because the shell of root is also a bash. And dot means the heading, bash is the shell, or C for run control. So this file has the related aliases and all the information for the variables for the root. So if I just type in alias, you can see these are the aliases that get set from etc profile, etc bash or C, and .bash or C here. And so let's go back to the part where we were changing the user ID from 1002 to 1003. So now I'm going to clear a screen here, and I'm going to say user mod minus u 1003, 1003, and then for dev user 1. So at this point, what I'm saying is that assign the new user ID for the dev user 1. It used to be dev user 1 was 1002. So if I say grep minus I, dev user 1, etc password and etc group, you can see that it was originally was 1000. The group is still there. So 1002 was there. Now I change it to 1003. And then now if I say switch user to dev user 1, and then I say ID-UG, that is, sorry, let's do this grep command first. Okay. ID dash UN and U or UN is the same. ID dash group N and numbers. And then also if I say dash G and then dash U, now it's going to show. And notice that this time grep minus I dev user one etc password and etc group. It has been changed from 1002 to 1003. So if I type in groups here, you could see that this my group says dev user one, which is okay. And then, but if I want to see the user ID of it, the user ID was ID-UN was this one, and then dash U is 1003. Dash G is the group is 1002. So we only modify the group, the user ID. This time I'm gonna just be out here. I'm gonna say user mode. Let's change the group this time. Dash G. We're gonna just say dash G 1003 for dev user one. Sorry, user mode. User mode is only one MOD, not E. So here, when you do this one, now say grep minus I dev user one etc password etc shadow. Let's not do the shadow group. That's good enough. We don't need the shadow at this time. So now we change the user ID and the group ID also. But notice this one did not get modified. For whatever reason, it should have, when we did the group 1003, it should have done that one also, dev user one. But that is actually does not get happen on the group file. It only happens on the etc password file. If we want to change that one to group, then there's group mod rather than user mod, minus G, and then we say 1003 for the user dev user one. Already exists. Yeah, so the group is there. Let me just see why it was not getting it. Clear a screen. Grep minus I dev user one etc password etc shadow etc group, and then those other ones 1003. The group is dev user one is 1002. So dev user one is there. I'm going to say that group mod and dev user one to 1003. So this is the syntax for group mode. It says group mode and then the group name. So the group name is there, and then how does it know what number you're going to change it to? For this one, it should have done it with the user mode, but most likely there's a parameter you can pass it. Let me just see which one is it. Dash G. Yeah, the dash G is there. So I'm gonna try this. Oh, dash G is missing. This one already exists. Vim etc group. Let me see what is on the group file. 1003 says that it already exists. Yeah, this is, oh, dev one. So this dev one is previously assigned to it. And if you just are using that one, then that group 1003 can, the group ID and user ID has to be unique. That's why it's not allowing it, because dev one already exists. So I'm gonna just do this first. Say group grep minus I 1003 on etc group file. You can see the only one that is using is dev one. So I'm going to say group del dev one. We deleted cannot remove the primary group of user dev user one. So dev user one, we had already assigned it to group dev one. That makes sense. So okay, so we can do a group mode on dev one to something else like 1004. So group mode and then dev one and then -g 1004. Now there's no group mode of 1003 from the groups. Since I'm just looking for a number, I don't need to put -i. So this one says that no such group, no, sorry, group file. And then since that one does not go there anymore, I can do now this group mode dev user one to 1003, and then I can change it back to this, because dev one is 1004. So now this one did it. So if I say just up arrow again and then look at it, now dev user one has the group. So if I say grep -i dev user one etc password and etc shadow and etc group, then you can see that user ID is 1003 and the group ID is 1004. And then that's how we did that one. Apparently, this one is 1004, and this one we switch it back to 1003. I meant to do 1004 because the dev one is also there. So there's depend on what you are doing. So let's say dev user one, I'm going to just see here ID and then say groups here. So dev one, and then if I just say dev one is my group, and then at this time I'm going to modify that file, and then just don't do dev one there, or you could just do dev user one dev one, and then not use the dev user one as group. So that could also be the right thing to do. So let me just do a couple of things here. Group dev user one. So now the dev user one doesn't exist. I'm using the same group, that group dev one for the dev user one. Clear the screen, and then say switch user dev user one ID dash GN group name, and then that is fine. ID dash UN user ID is that, and then also type in groups, and I belong to the groups. Now I'm going to add another group called dev user one. Whatever the next sequence and the number is on that one, since grep -i dev user one is not in the etc group file, it's not there. Plus maybe the next sequence is 1004. Let's see if 1004. Yeah, 1004 is there. So the next sequence is 1005. 1005 is not used. So if I say group add, and then I just say dev user one, and that one, now I go to the sequence, 1005 was given to dev user one. So whatever the next sequence, the system automatically assign that group ID for it. And now if I just say, let's just make that dev user one with multiple groups, and dev one as well as dev user one. In order to do that one, if I look at grep -i dev user one etc group file, you can see it has only dev user one 1001 on this one matching, but then the actual group ID, when you switch to dev switch user dash dev user one, you can see here groups is gonna only show dev one. I want to be able to have multiple groups, and so now this is how you do that one. You say group group mod minus uppercase G. Let's do it with user mod. Group user mod dash uppercase G, and I'm gonna say dev1 and comma and dev user1 for the user dev user1. This is does not exist. Dev user1. Dev that was a typo. Dev dev user1, and then this is dev user1. So when you do it correctly with the right user ID, and then also the two groups that you want, you use uppercase G, and that will just assign it to that one. Now I say switch user to dev user1, and then I say ID here, and then I'll say groups. You can see I have multiple groups. And my current group, if I just look at ID dash GN, is going to show that dev1. But I want to switch to become the ID of dev user1. Notice since dev1 was my default one, as soon as I switch user here, I have the group of default one, dev1. But if I want to use this next group that is there, I could just say new group and then dev user1. And then now I say ID dash GN, and it's going to be just dev user1. If I look at the groups, I have dev user as the current one. The next group I can switch to is dev1. So obviously, if I do this one with say new group dev1 for this one, I could have switched that one GN, and it shows that one, and groups shows dev1 is my current one, and dev user1, that means the next level. So you might have multiple roles, whether it's net, operation, everything, you can always switch using new group command. As long as you belong to that group, you should be able to switch it, and then the permission and everything is going to be working for you accordingly. So clearing the screen here, if I do a PWD on /home dev user1, notice on the home dev user1, at this time, if I just say ls minus l here, there's no file. ls minus la, there's kind of very little file here. And then I say, well, and that's good. I have these hidden files. Notice the files that are ownership, and then the group here. The 1003, it shows there because 1003, this number did not have any entry. So my current group for this one, I says ID dash GN, it says dev1. This 1003, let's see minus I dev1, etc groups. And this is, etc group, it is showing 1004. So if I change this group to 1004, then automatically it's gonna change that one. At some point when the group changed, these numbers did not change because we assigned some groups and then we modify them back. So let's see if as a user that is there, since the permission of these files are only readable, writable by the owner, but not the group does not have permission. Since I'm the owner, I'm gonna try this. And then I say change mode plus dash R, uppercase R, and I'm gonna say dev1. So user is dev user1, and then colon dev1. Dev1 is this group that I want to get 1004 for everything here. So I gotta say star. Change mode dash R dev user1. Let's see dot star. Let me just see. Okay, change mode. First, I'm gonna do dev user1 colon dev1 star. So the syntax is okay, but somehow it says invalid mode. This dev1 is not recognized. So let's see if dev user one, oh, sorry, not change mode, change ownership. I meant to write change ownership. Sorry about that. I was typing change mode is for the mode, which is this permission issue. You're changing the ownership or changing the group. I could have done change ownership like this. And then since I'm not root, I have to be with sudo and then do that one and then provide the password. And now did it. And now notice this one is all dev user one. I could have also changed that one. Let's say I changed that one back to 1004 and or 1003. 1004 is also good because that one is still dev user one. But let's just change it to 1003. So we get that number 1003 here. As you can see here, I did it with change owner. I could have done with change group and then just provide that dev user one here. This dev one here. And the dev one here is the same thing as running this. So notice that this time I did it with change group and not change owner. When you do the change group, you're saying dash recursively everything with anything with the hidden files and do that one. This dev one is the user group ID number, group name. If you want 1000, whatever was the 1004, that also is going to understand it. 1004 is for dev one. So you could do it that way. And now I could tag a file, say this, and then I'm logged on as dev user one. Notice the file this I created has the default permissions all sitting there. And this permission is for the file is basically saying read write for the owner, read for groups, and read for others, which means that umask is going to be subtracted from 0666. So this would be equivalent to 0666 minus 0022, which is equivalent to 0 for the sticky bit that is not set, and then 6 for the first one, and then 4 for the next one. So would be like dash, read, write, dash, read, dash, dash, and then dash, read, dash, dash. That would be equivalent to that. So this is tagging a file. So if I say tag that, notice that file is also the same thing. But if I make a directory, say make dir new one, the directory one, now notice the new one is having a permission that 755. Why is that 755? Because the current one is saying that this is a D, meaning it's a directory, and then make a dir new, new 2, then ls minus ld, new start question mark, you could see that they're both directory. And why is that 755 is because it is umask 077 minus umask, which is 0 was 0022. And so that is going to be 0755. And then that is read write execute for 7, and then read dash execute for read and executable, and then read dash execute for other groups. The first 3 is for the owner, the next 3 is for the groups, and then the last 3 for others that are not part of the owner or group. So you could see that one is here. And then now I'm gonna just do a little bit more of the user command. Like, let's say sometimes you want to just provide a home directory and then a particular shell that you want to just use and everything. So let's just create one more user here. And then I'm going to exit out of this. And then now I'm on root. I'm going to say user add. And if I just don't provide any argument, it gave me this command line syntax that is saying that user add, and then you can just say for -b for base directory, and then the home directory, and then there's shells for the shell you want to use, and then what else we can do in the M, create the home directory, and so on. So here the option that are limited. I mean unlimited. You can just do anything. On the Solaris management, also on the website that I showed you on the website, if you go to the website here, on the user add and all those commands that I'm showing you here. Let me just make this one bigger. You can see here for all of the command for user add, for example, or user del, what they do and what is there. For user group, what is a group del, group mod. And then here I'm going to show you examples on the Solaris platform. So the Solaris platform, basically, let me resize this window again. Yeah, so right here, as you can see, what is user add, and then I'll show you, and then user commands, all of these arguments. And then here, I'm just showing you one command to just say user add created at this directory, -m to create this home directory, and then the current shell is the shell that we want to use, -c, the name of the real name of the user, and then and the name of the user that you want to do. You can pass on all those arguments and the command line as well. So there's a number of other commands here I'm just showing you. I covered already a lot of this. You're welcome to read this one and watch the videos for it. And then the video also gave you a lot of details. So the first video for this one would be this video right here. And it's chapter 4, part 1. This is basically covered all the first row here, from user add all the way to covering more than just user and group information, the user command system, CTL, Catman, password checker, and group check. All of that one will be covered on this video. So you're welcome to watch that. And then here I'm going to just do it on the Linux side. So clearing my screen here, you could see that I want to make that root, this one, just smaller. I'm going to say PS1 is equal, just put the root that's indicating I'm logged on as root, okay? So echo and $PS1, you can see I changed my prompt shell 1 to only show the pound sign. So clear the screen here, and then I'm going to say user add. And then notice if I just say head -10, it gave me like the format of the syntax of the user add command here, everything, but I don't need it because you usually memorize it. So you say user add if you're an admin. I haven't worked on this system for maybe at least, I mean, I've worked on the Linux, but doing user add or user delete or management, these commands for a really, really long time. But I do still remember some of the commands, it's easy. So if you could say user add -b for base, and then home, I'm going to just call it dev user2, and then -m for creating that directory. And then I'm going to also say -s for shell. I'm going to say /bin/ bash, bash, and then at the same time, I'm going to just say minus creation name is say dev user1, something like that, a real name. And then I'm going to just put the account name dev user2. Actually, this is dev user2. So when you run that command, it says that echo $? It runs successfully, meaning that grep -i dev user2 etc password etc shadow group and etc shadow, all of them have an entry there. So now I can say user let's just change, say, I'm going to say users first to see who's logged on the system. And then I could say, let's just say password for dev user 2. We're going to give a password here. And then okay, I logged in. Change the password. Now notice the same command that I did here. Now the password, because I put this encrypted password, it is just already in the shadow file. So that means I can just log in with that user. If I just open another terminal here, or just use the same one, doesn't matter how I want to do it, but I want to open another terminal here, and then let's just go back here and then click here. Preference launch, there was an error creating the process for this terminal. Okay, that should have not happened there. And then let me just close this one, relaunch preferences. I'm gonna close this one. So right here, I'm gonna just say, open another terminal here, and new window, preferences, and relaunch. Let's see, permission denied. There was an error creating the child process for this terminal. Failed to execute process, bash, failed to change the directory. Okay, so the bash itself for this user did not existed. So the shell, I have to modify it, that makes sense. So let me just exit out of this, come back here and say, I am on this user, I'm going to say, uh, switch user to dev user 2. And then user 2 is searched perfectly fine. If I say users here, it is Wahid is logged on, and then the other one. So I'm gonna say from this terminal, open an xterm, for example, xterm, see if the xterm is not set. So let's just get out of this, and then ID here. I'm going to close this session just to make sure that I have no other issue stuck here. You can see that there was some error creating the process for terminal, failed to execute the process, bash failed to change the directory, /home/Wahid. So let's see if the /home/Wahid something happened to it. And then I'm going to open xterm. Yeah, xterm opens fine, but notice that it says /home/Wahid .bash or C, permission denied. So what I'm going to do here, become root first, and then here I have this. I'm going to say sudo su dash, and then become root. In fact, I could just without this, I'm gonna just open a terminal so you can see it better. I think that's too hard to read. So say xterm minus background, and then I'm gonna minus background, I'm gonna say pound 00, let's say 1500, and then that is a dark green color, and then minus foreground white, and I could write also white as pound 3Fs, that one. You could do a 6 or 3 characters is fine also. And then I could say minus font size is equal, let's say I'm gonna do 16, a little bit bigger than this one. And then minus font face is going to be New York. So now I have a nicer window, but notice this permission denied. That means ID-UN, it says that I'm logged on as this, but on my home directory .bash or C, somehow it says permission denied. So now let's switch users sudo su dash, and then I'm going to log in with this. And then the way you correct that one, go to home directory Wahid and look at the ls-l.bash or c and notice the password of this user. Somehow those group mode and everything that we did, it messed up that user ID and group ID of Wahid there. So dev1, because I might have been on that /home directory when I did the change ownership. I think that's what happened here, yeah. So on this directory, I wanted to actually change the ownership to Wahid. I meant to do it for Wahid, dev1, dev user one, I did it on Wahid. So this is how you correct it. You say change owner Wahid, colon Wahid, and then a star. This is going to do it, but I rather do it with -r, and then that, so now ls-la, you can see all of this are done, but not the .headen files. The headen files, the .bash or C, I wanted to get it also done, and then now all of them are done. So you can see all of them are done. And then, and the way you normally want to take care of it, if you do ls-ld Wahid here, and notice this is already Wahid, this permission is fine, but inside this one, if you look at everything here, and then put the Linux /, you can see all of these files are there with the right permissions, including the hidden files. If I just do this hidden files also, they're all Wahid. So that is fine, but just to be on the safe side, you do this thing with the change ownership of this, with everything here, saying that go ahead, modify everything. Let me make sure that I, again, I was in the wrong directory. I was in the, I should have been on the Wahid directory. Somehow I did it a little bit on the top level. That's okay. Those other ones are okay. So I don't want these Wahid a lot to be done. This is when you make a typo on the wrong path. This is what happened. I'm gonna post this video so you could learn it. And this is my first time making this typo, and then I'm gonna correct it and how you correct it so you can recover. Normally, if you do something like this, make sure that you have a backup so you can do it, but you don't need a backup if you know what you're doing here. That's why I have to be a little bit more careful when I was on the path, and normally I watch it so much. So let me just correct it. So I'm gonna say change ownership -r for Wahidullah, colon Wahidullah on the Wahidullah home directory, invalid user Wahidullah. Let me just make sure that Wahidullah, oh, Wahidullah, all lowercase, Wahidullah, colon Wahidullah, and Wahidullah. So now that one is done. The next thing I want to do is for Wahid. I want to do same thing for Wahid, colon Wahid, and then Wahid. That is done. And then now I want to do the dev user one and dev user two, and say and change owner -r. We already have the command. All I have to do is type in dev user one colon dev user one for dev user one, and similarly for dev user two to group user ID this and this. So now on the entire directory, everything is corrected. Why is this one taking too long? It didn't. So it just says this, and this is all the permissions are correct now. If I just say, for example, this -lr, lr Wahid, you can see the entire thing with Wahid, all user ID and everything is perfectly fine. Similarly for Wahidullah, everything is fine with the ownership and user. Similarly for dev user one is there. So we recover from that mistake very fast. And then just be careful what your command as root you run at what directory, and then watch your commands before you do it. Don't follow me on this scenario. You can follow me on other scenarios, and I made the first time after like 20, 30 years this thing, but it was just a demo. So that's why it wasn't clear for on production machine. You have to be careful and do it right. So here, let's just look at one more thing. So we did this one. Now, if I just open a terminal here, I should not have that problem. Earlier, I was getting it. So let's say I click on here now, and the terminal opens up here. ID, because the bash or C file is okay. So I open another terminal. Also, that one also works here. You see, no matter how many terminals I open, it opens it. So let's say on this one, I'm also Wahid, but I'm gonna say just switch user to new dev user one. Dev user one. So notice that I logged on with 3 terminals. This is what I get with 3 terminals. So on this one, dev user one, now ID-GN is dev user dev one. I'm going to, our group is that one by UN as dev user one. On this one, I wanna say, let's SSH to the local host machine. So host name is localhost. I could say grep -I localhost from etc host file. It is pointing to the loopback interface 127.0.0.1. So I could say SSH dev user 2 at localhost. Now I'm going to run SSH, and it's going to secure connection, and then I log in here. And now I'm logged on at dev user 1, dev user 2 on the local host. So now if I type in users, notice that it shows 3 instances of Wahid and then 1 as dev user 1. And then here, clear in the screen here, now say users. Users command is going to show you how many times a particular user opened a terminal, or if anybody else logged on as on another terminal session. So in this case, PS of this one, it shows my teletype is this one. So if I say who am I, you can see that I came in from this loopback interface session on the display number 1. And then here, if I just clear the screen, say who am I, you can see PS, I'm logged on as this PS2. Here, if I just say clear the screen, who am I come up as this, and then ID as dev user 1. ID-UN is showing you dev user 2, actually, not user 1. And then here, say clear screen, who am I? You can do who am I all in one case, so you can see who the user is, and then who am I to show that if you're logged on to that system as another user. So if I just exit out of this one, say who am I, it says Wahid. Now SSH -L, you can also do this, localhost, and then specify the username. Here, say dev user 1 on localhost. So then you can log in here too as user 1. And then here say who am I and who space am I. Notice the difference. When you do it, put it together, it just says who's your user ID name. That's similar to like get int password and dev user 1 or ID-UN. And so it shows that that's your, but when you do who am I with the spaces, it shows you also from where did you SSH to. And this is the loopback interface, and this is display 1. So At this time, PS minus EF grep minus ISSH also shows you that you are having a session on this SSH connections port 222 there. I mean, there's commands with LSOF command. You can also check on the command. So since I have sudo access, I can say sudo lsof minus I colon 888. And then type in the password. If I want to see port 888, it's nothing running. I want to see port 22, which is SSH, and then I can see all the connections that are established. So you can see those ones as well. And this is listening port for port 22, the daemon, and you can say sudo system ctl status sshd. You can, sorry, sudo system ctl status status sshd. Sometimes I get too tired fast. Maybe I talk so much. Okay, let's just concentrate on the other part. So now we did these accounts, and then I'm going to run the users command again. Notice that this time dev user 1 is on the system, dev user 2 is there. You can also reveal this one by command last, and then just clear the screen, and let's say get the head of head minus 10 of those lines. You can see the people that they're logged on the system. Logged in is still logged on. Okay, so those are the commands that you did. If I want to just change the current shell of one of them, I mean the shell from bash to current shell. So assuming current shell is installed, this is what you do. Let's do it on this graphical interface, and then I'm going to say export a $sign PS1. I mean a $sign. So I want to change my shell first. Export PS1 is equal pound and then a space. This is going to change it to a pound instead of the longer name, username at host name. I want to just make it shorter. $sign PS1 now is pointing to that, and if I say clear the screen is that. But at this time, I want to show you grep minus I dev user 1 etc password, and then etc group. So the important thing is just on the password file. So if I want to just do this, and notice that if I switch user to dev user 1 as root, and then I say echo $sign shell, it shows me this bin bash here that was there. I'm going to just change that one to current shell. In order to change that one to current shell, you have to first make sure that current shell is installed. If it is not installed, since this one is a Red Hat dash release of Enterprise Linux version 9, you need to just do a DNF command. So which DNF? DNF is the Red Hat 8.6 or 9 equivalent to yum repository. And then if I just say which yum was the file manager that uses the Red Hat RPM and packages and repositories to install it, but it was replaced by DNF, which is the Fedora version of file manager to switch from yum to DNF. And now on the version that we are running, if you look at the file user bin yum, and then do a ls minus l, this one is basically showing you it is symbolic link to that. In order to know that one, that's a symbolic link, you can see this dash L for the first file, and this greater sign pointing to the DNF-3. So how do I know what is DNF-3? then you just say DNF -3 is the executable. And then that is the file there. If you just say file on this one, then it says that it's ASCII text executable. It's a Python script that is actually calling the stuff that is there. So DNF-3 is not a too big file. It is a Python file, so ls minus LD. You can see that file is only a small size. So I could also do a more on it. Since the type is Python, we can look at the content of this Python script, and it does these imports and uses all the system related path stuff. So why I'm showing you DNF? Because we want to use DNF install a method, and DNF itself has a lot of capability. One of the argument is install. Another one is to remove it package, or install it, or list it, or do a lot of other things. So if you by default say list everything, this is just going to show you all the RPMs that are there, or all the packages that are there. So if I do a word count on it, you can see this is about 16,188 RPMs. So one of the RPM that we want to install is, or the package that we want to install is DNF is corn shell. So we could say list, and then this is a list, but if I say corn shell, then it's going to look for the corn shell there. Say, yeah, I found out the corn shell 664. Do you want to install it? You say, go ahead, install it. DNF install corn shell. And then it's going to say that I'm going to install this corn shell package. And then I say, yes, go ahead, do it. I could have just provide -y and it did it. So now if I just say the DNF list corn shell, it shows that this package is installed here. So if I say DNF search corn shell, also and searches and finds out all the packages that are there. And now if I say which corn shell, is going to show that the binary user bin corn shell is already installed. And that's symbolic link to this binary etc alternative corn shell. So when you do the current shell that I'm using, the current shell CURENT, I'm using bash. If I want to switch to corn shell, I could just simply type in corn shell. Now notice that I switched to corn shell like here. So now the syntax of my command lines is corn shell, not bash. Bash is the superset of Bourne shell and corn shell, and then bash is there. And then ZSH is the superset of all four of them, all three of them. SH, Bourne shell, corn shell, and even C shell and true C shell, all put all together with the graphic and everything. Z shell does that, coloring and everything, looping, and so many other functionalities. So coming back to the corn shell, now we have echo $$. I'm on the syntax of a corn shell, which is similar to bash. So if I say export name is echo Wahid, and then echo $name, or export x is equal 10, echo $x. So you can see that one. And then I unset x and unset name. Now this variable doesn't exist anymore. env pipe more, you can see that there's all the environment variables are there, and then x and name is not there anymore. So now I'm on this shell. I'm going to exit out of this one, come back to the bash, and I'm going to say get int password dev user1. So I'm gonna change this bash to corn shell. What you do is say user mode minus s for shell, and say bin corn shell to for dev user1. User mode, I mistyped it, no a there, and did it now. So now do a get int again. You can see that bin corn shell has changed. So at this time, I'm going to say switch user to dev user one. And notice that as soon as I do this one, now my corn shell, if I just look at it, is corn shell. If I just say PS, it's corn shell. If I go to bash, I still have the option to change to bash, but that's not my default. The default is now corn shell as soon as I log in as this user. And if I just exit out of this one, say grep -i, dev user one, etc password, etc shadow, and etc group, all the entries that are there are showing, except that the /ben bash was changed to ben corn shell. And you can see that, that's happening. So at this time, I showed you a number of things. Let's go to the dev user one here. Notice that here, there's no files here except those files that I could touch it, that, this, and that. So I'm going to just say, at this time, let's just wipe out stuff and then everything. Obviously, for one user, you can just copy from another one if you are having read-write permissions, or you can do it with root level. That is easy. So if I just say on this directory, I say and change directory to dev user one, which I'm there. If I want to say copy -rp from home wlutfi programs, and then I just want to put this one programs pro. Oh, not this. I'm copying white. So that one is done. Now, if I look at this one, the / programs, because I put this RP, I said preserve the permission the way it is there. So if I did not want to do it, notice that if I just go here and then say rm -rf programs, here I just wipe it out again, and now clear pwdls. So now I have this. I'm going to do the copy command again, but this time I'm just going to say -r recursively, don't preserve the path, meaning programs and then the sub directories that are there, because of that R is going to copy. And then notice that the ls-lr programs, it has all the C++ and all the shell script, everything, except that when I do this one, and notice the lowercase d, notice the permissions of these files are all owned by root. I don't want it by old root because dev user one has a sudo, he can switch it, but I want it to have for this program files to the same user. So you say change owner dev user one colon dev user one for programs. So in order to do this one to the subdirectories as well, when you do this one without dash R, uppercase R, it only does this directory. So the content of this directory is changed to this, but not the files under it. The files under it, that one is basically, if you look at this one with the ls-ld, you see all of them are still root. In order to do that one, you do the same command here with the dash uppercase R. Now you just run this command, it's there. You could see all of them are done, dev user one. And then since you're here, you can see the files here with proper permission. Okay, so now I'm going to do two things. Since we created these accounts and then I want to just delete them all, I don't need them, except Wahid and Wahid Allah, the other two accounts. So let's just do those dev user one. I'm going to be root here. I'm going to just make sure that these other accounts that I logged on as, they are just exiting out before you do it. If you are trying to do it even with root, you could force it, but it's better to just make sure that you're not logged on the other session here. So let's just go back here. I'm gonna say minimize this one. Okay, these ones, I'm gonna exit out of each one of them, exit, and then exit. So I don't have a session open while I'm doing this one. I'm going to close this one, and then coming back on the prompt there. Let's just open this one, clear the screen here. I'm gonna say user del, and then dev user one. And notice that it says group dev user one not removed because it is not in the primary group of the user dev one. That's fine. We're gonna do those ones also. The user two, we created the group fine, and it deleted the group there. So now I'm gonna say grep minus I dev user etc password, etc shadow, and etc group. See, the only one that dev user one is extra there. I'm gonna say group del dev user one. And now if I do the same command, nothing there, all cleaned up. So one other thing, we just want to make sure that it's done. Go under the home directory, and normally when you just do the dev user, they are just saying that, okay, this user account, even though the user no longer wants to work for the company, maybe it's gone, you removed it. We don't want the data to be deleted from his account. We want to make sure that the project and the development team has access to all the work that he did or she did. So that means some of those program files that we did together as group is not lost. Notice that user ID and group ID are showing numbers now because they don't exist here. So in order to correct that one, there's a command also like password pk check, pk check. Let's see, pw check. If there's no or there, it is a group check is another one, grp check, and then both of them are good. So I did not have any entry. If there was any invalid entry, those commands would not succeed. So when you type in pw check for password check, equal $sign and $sign question mark, meaning that they have no problem. And then I'm sorry, equal $sign question mark. And so let's do the pw check here, and echo $sign question mark 0, and group check, and then echo $sign question mark, no problem. So we are good with that. The other thing is right here, you could say that, okay, dev user one and then dev user two has these files. Normally, if you are in need of these ones, let's say the program files are needed, just tar it up. Say, okay, tar cvf programs.tar, and then programs. So now I just program cannot start no such file. I'm on the wrong directory, so I have to be on dev user one and then run this command. And now it tore up all the stuff there. But again, this is just unnecessary for this demo purpose. I just showed you that you can do this one. Now this .tar file is there. I'm going to move this tar file to the parent directory and move programs.tar. And the fact that you want to do it, just not only do this one. So you could just say, let's say rm store.tar, clear screen. Okay, rm programs store.tar. Okay, so right here, rm programs.tar, regular file, remove it, yes. Okay, so it is gone. Now I'm going to just do one thing here, clear the screen here. Normally, when you're having this user here for ls-l, clear the screen ls. So when you are doing this one, I'm going to just say rm rm programs.tar. So here And then these are the one. So normally you want to back up dev user one, for example. You just don't want to go to the subdirectory, everything. You could say tar cvf dev user one dot tar, and then you could give a timestamp of like say, for example, 429, 23. And then what time you want to do it doesn't matter. You could just be that specific. And then dev user one. So now on this one, I'm going to tar up everything that's there, including the subdirectories and everything. So clean up. Here, notice that now I have the same directories for dev user one as tar up. Dev user two, I don't need to. So I'm going to say rm minus rf dev user two. And then that is done. So now, since I have the tar for dev user one, I'm going to just say rm minus rf dev user one also. And now if I do this one, file and dev star.tar, notice that this file is a POSIX tar archive, tape archive. And then what I could do is say gunzip dev user one.tar. This is going to put it in a gunzip format, compress it. So now it is, when it is done, the entire file is going to be smaller in size. And then let's just wait for it. It is right now compressing it. It should be done soon. Let's see how soon it's going to be done. It is not that big file. I believe it is big, maybe. Gunzip, this one. It is taking a little bit time. The size of that this file, the tarball, is really huge. So if I just look at the dev user one and this usage minus l minus sh at dev user one, then you can see that it's 2.4 gig. You can say gunzip and then this file name, and then compress it. It will be a while to compress it, and dev user one.tar, and then once it's compressed, we are going to uncompress it again and then delete it afterward anyway. So this is just to demo that if you are deleting the user, you can always restore it from your backup of what you had done there. But I should have not backed up the program files in there. That was too huge for this one to just demonstrate it there. And then we could just let it go for this one to just finish, and then we resume when it is the gunzip is compressing it. So the option that we are testing here for the external window, the size was really kind of big, so it did it finally, it finished. And then when it is finished here, you can see that the file is in gunzip format. So if you say file dev star, then you can see it is in a gunzip format here. That is tar gunzip file. Now if I say earlier was 2.4 gig, if I say ls minus l star.gunzip file, you can see this usage minus s star.gunzip file, you can see it's 951 meg instead of the file that it was there. You see ls minus l star.gunzip. Oh, and this is just showing you what it is showing you with the size. I want to see this one is about 951 gig. Okay, so we saw that one, and then what I'm going to do here, and just I don't want to switch to this other window. I want to just leave this window that we have here and make the size a little bit bigger so you can see it better. Clear a screen here, ls-l. Now I want to just again unzip this gunzip file, dev user one. So this time when we again unzip it, it's uncompressing it back to the 2.4 gigabyte file, .tar file. The extension of the file when it is from gunzip to the tar file, it's going to change it to .tar extension. And notice that it is there. So file star.tar is a POSIX tape archive file. So now clearing the screen here, ls, and then if I just say tar xvf dev this, it's gonna just extract all the thing and under that dev user one. So now dev user one is restored back to what it was originally. So if I go to cd to dev user one, you can see this home directory is there. So people could access the program files, the new, and everything else that was there as of that snapshot. So at this time, I provided the demo that I wanted to do. I'm going to go back here, clear screen and clean my system. So I don't have these extra unnecessary users and accounts and files. I'm gonna just clean it up. This is, as a system admin, one of other tasks that you say, whatever you did for the day, you wanna make sure that the system is not left over with some unnecessary files and storage that it has to occupy your system. So this is how you do it. rm-rf dev user one. This is just gone. And now the tar file, I don't need the tar file, rm-star.tar, or I could say dev-star.tar, tab it, and to say, and go ahead and delete it, clear screen, now I have it, a clean system. And then if I say grep-i dev user, etc password, etc shadow, etc group, nothing there, it's clean. Echo $question, my command ran successfully. It did not find it actually. And when it doesn't find it, it's run successfully, but it did not find it. So echo $question is 0. If you -1. If I look for Wahid, for example, that this one is going to show the entry, echo $question is going to show 0, meaning successfully run, and it matched the entry. Okay, so that is there, and then /home is now clean, so we're good to go. I'm going to close out this window. I'm going to close this window. This window, I don't need it either. You're back to Red Hat 9 enterprise level, and you're welcome to practice any of those ones. The graphical user interface, I did not show you how to create accounts on that one. Another day, that's simple. If you can do something from command line, you can always go to the GUI and then just create it from using the password management tools or any other graphical user interface that Red Hat provides for their platform. Thanks for watching. Have a nice one. Take care. And then make sure that you go to our channel and then on the YouTube channel. And then let me just make this one bigger. And this is the channel, MyWebUniversity for Education. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, make some comments, and then I'll fulfill your needs based on what you're asking for. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.